should we give these other people
Johnstown's
to
no
yours in
picnic either.
couple minutes?
Got any communication with them?
I can call Ian and ask how far away he is.
WGN said they're gonna be a little late.
Yes.
Give him 2 minutes. Start the clock, 2 minutes. I think the old call used to be, Charlie, stand by, go.
He's getting out of his car now.
Clear coming out. That's an old spot.
Do you guys want to wait 2 minutes? I'm stuck to be here in 2 minutes. It's up to you.
Oh, did you see, I don't know if you had time, I went and spoke to the lady whose son, she talked about 3 years. And, well, it's like, she doesn't. It's be 50 degrees this week.
This time of year, I always have to send.
But she wrote, she was trying to explain the process. It's like, okay, if you look at the totality of the people who are speaking, it's the medical and mental functionality or dysfunctionality that's they're talking about. This is it.
But hopefully tomorrow I can do it. Get out and jump.
Notes, Redmond, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
We have maintenance.
Yeah, is this on, Mark? Your stuff on? Do I need to hit something or you good?
Test one more time.
Constantinople? We're good?
Istanbul, Constantine.
You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
All right, thank you. Today here, we're bringing the people who are involved in St. Joe County, from our Sheriff's Department to PSAP to our EMA, and they will all allude to the things they did. So thank you for coming, and I'll turn it over to Carl, and then we'll go person by person.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to commend all the people who worked so hard in the Sheriff's Department, the Highway Department, PSAP, EMA. I think one of the key things was improved communication, and we spent a lot of time talking over the weekend, and so many people gave so much. Yes, it's their job, but still, over the holiday weekend, that they did to keep people safe this weekend, and all of our employees are to be commended for that.
Okay.
You want to start down at the...
We'll start with, good morning, Mr. Thomas.
Morning.
We'll start with our Highway Department, so we'll get Sky Metters to begin with, and then Charlie. Oh, okay, go ahead, Deb.
Oh, yeah. And I was glad everybody was helpful too. There he is. Down here. Guy.
You?
These guys will wait till they get set up.
Okay, all right, thank you.
There's a PowerPoint presentation there, and Carol will attempt to put the right slide to the person who's talking.
Yeah.
This will be a challenge.
So somebody got a Hawaiian shirt for Christmas? Storm, what storm?
We wanna go-
Peterson came in with wool socks and snow pants, and he's throwing a Hawaiian shirt out, man.
What is
We want to go in order of the slides, or we want Julie to go?
We'll just
Or
go
we'll just-
down the row
okay.
and we think we can, because there's not a whole bunch.
Sky, is this where you start?
Yes, yes.
When we're done, you can hit those two media people, hey, thanks everybody.
Charlie, I'll just hit some of the high points and then pass it down to you.
Even
or-
if you do that, it's, you
Yeah,
could still be
it's-
heard. There, push that little button.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Thomas, how was your subdivision? Was it plowed well?
It was plowed well,
All right, there you go.
plowed well. I shoveled every driveway out.
Okay. Yeah, I left a note on that dude's door. I'm gonna go out there later this afternoon. I don't know if
That's
it,
what I called him out, to see if you,
yeah, we'll see. But somebody said there was a bunch of golf balls flying around the area.
guilt by association, right?
Yeah, just, we'll do two mics so you can,
Be golfing.
New councilman.
so just give us a thumbs up when you're all ready to go. We'll start with Sky Metters, our county engineer.
Your first name,
Sky, S-K-Y,
last name?
Medders, M-E-D-O-R-S.
Okay, and then during their speaking, the little PowerPoint we have will be what they're talking about, so I don't know if you want to like zoom back and forth. You guys are the experts, so cool. All right, Sky.
All right. My name's Sky Medders. I'm the county engineer. The highway department falls under my umbrella, and this was quite an event for our highway department to sort of, I guess it's the second event of the year, but one of the first major events. And it was a unique event in that everything that occurred, it wasn't just snow, it wasn't just lake effect, it was a little bit of everything. And if you look at the stats, the snowfall in St. Joseph County, based on the system I use for, the website I use for snow, we had 3 inches in some areas and 15 inches in other areas. There we go. Plus, if you can't see my face, it's better. But we had about 3 inches in some areas and down near like the Woodland area, and 15 inches up near the state line. So the snowfall amounts varied quite a bit. If we would have just got the snowfall, we probably wouldn't be sitting here today having this conversation or press conference, because it would have been sort of a normal event. But what really hit hard were the winds. We had 40 mile per hour to 50 mile per hour gusts with sustained winds above 20 miles per hour. And then wind chills at the South Bend Airport, I think they measured a negative 34-degree wind chill. And that, with the wind, it causes a lot of drifting on the roads. There's some instances our plows can go down the road, and by the time they turn around to come back, the road's full of snow again. We had a lot of roads that drifted shut, where we had to get heavy equipment like our loaders and our graders with the V-plow on to get out and open those up. And with the the lower temperatures, it gets to a point where our material that we typically use, the road salt, doesn't work. It doesn't melt the snow and ice. So you end up with icy roads covered with snow, and that just leads to spells quite a formula for disaster there. And also, too, with the lower temperatures, it really plays havoc on our equipment. It gets to a point with some of the trucks had the diesel fuel gelling up and so forth. So we were fighting pretty much every element you could think of in this storm. But even through that, we were able to pre-treat the roads beforehand, and that helped us out earlier on in the event. And then we had people out plowing Thursday all throughout the weekend. And they're even out today trying to hit some of the spots. We had drifts today on Chicago Trail that had to get opened up just because of the blowing of the snow. So our guys and gals have been out fighting this for since it started and working very hard. We have approximately 1,200 centerline miles of roads in St. Joseph County, and our crews were able to plow those. We have a night shift and a day shift. The day shift has routes that they run, and that covers the whole county, and night shift comes in and hits main roads, any hot spots we have. But when it's all said and done throughout the whole event, we plowed approximately 4,000 centerline miles of roads, which translate to about 10,000 lane miles of roads from Thursday to Monday, and that ended up being over 625 man-hours worked on this event. So our people were out, they were working hard to get the roads clean. We were able to get in and out of subdivisions, just providing access, not curb to curb, but providing access for people to get out of their homes into the main roads through the whole event. We were able to do that. And then we were able to start getting into cleanup yesterday. During the event, some of the things that we noticed that really hampered our response was with the major drifting, we closed some roads. And there were some people that ignored those signs and barricades, and some people that actually plowed through those signs and barricades and ended up getting stuck. And so then the sheriff's office had to put resources to get to those people. We had to put resources to get to those people to help get them out. We actually had 3 of our trucks and a loader that actually got stuck trying to respond to people that ignored signs and got stuck on the roadway. So in the future, that if people could refrain from doing that, that would be very helpful to us. But we were able to respond and get things taken care of. And, you know, for the most part, I'm very happy with the response. One of the couple takeaways, you know, we have GPS on our trucks, so as I was looking at the vapor trails for the GPS and seeing all the roads getting covered, and it created a good sense of happiness for me that we were getting things done. But some of the things to take away is that our material will not work in the lower temperatures. So we're not putting salt down until it gets to the temperatures where it's going to work, or we're just wasting our money. I know that there were some people that were disappointed that we weren't putting material down, but that was the reason why. We were waiting till it got to the point where it would work. And so our plows were out. They were working hard all weekend, and we've been fighting this storm. We'll learn lessons from it moving forward, but overall, I was real happy with how things came out. Charlie, did you have anything to add, or?
No,
Uh,
we had everybody work over, they had an interesting holiday vacation.
Stay there, Sky, right there. Anybody have any questions for Sky on the county highway plows?
Sky, you said that you guys learned lessons with this event. Can you elaborate on what one or two of those lessons are that you learned?
I'll let Charlie Farrell's our highway superintendent. I'll let him answer that question. I mean, one of the things that I personally learned was how key communication is. We had great communication throughout this event. The sheriff's office with PSAP, the EMA, and just that communication to me was a good lesson learned on, you know, how we can improve our response with that continued communication. Charlie, did you got anything you want to add?
Sky left out that he also learned how to plow snow this event. He came out in New Carlisle with me, and it was an interesting adventure. But he's now also a snow plower. No, we've seen much of the same that we've seen in the past, and we learned something from every event. And like, for example, this morning, where there was no real wind predicted throughout St. Joseph County, there were probably one section of St. Joseph County from US 20 north, Snowberry Road, Otten Road, the east-west roads, they were completely impassable. We had to use front end loaders to open. But those were the only 2 roads in St. Joseph County where it really impacted that way. Other than that, it was persistence that got us through. And we learned a little bit about our fleet. We have 11 trucks that are down as a result of weather-related issues, freezing of the diesel fuel, the gelling up of the fuel, frozen hydraulic lines, gas lines, brakes, freezing up, things like that. Some of the folks, as the trucks would travel through the county, the loads themselves were freezing in the truck so that we couldn't spread salt with those trucks. But we got them thawed out, so it should be good.
Where do you stand today? What's your priority? Are you able to use salt now, and is there any?
We are using salt. We have trucks on the mains and secondary salting persistent areas of ice and snow. We have a fleet of our pickup trucks and our lighter duty trucks in all the subdivisions, and our goal is to have all the subdivisions curb to curb and the cul-de-sacs cleaned out completely. Mother Nature is going to be very helpful in that respect, but we are working on them now.
And I know we heard some complaints about you all reaching some of those subdivisions or some of those side roads. Was that because of the severe inclement weather? I mean, was
I'm
it-
sorry, what?
There was some complaints about, a lot of people on side roads, for example, were saying that their streets weren't plowed and they've never seen anything like this. Was that because of the severe inclement weather that you all couldn't reach stuff like that?
For the most part, we got to every road that we typically would get to starting Friday morning. I mean, correct, because and that's some of the things, we were getting those complaints coming in, and when I would look on the GPS, the vapor trail showed that people came through. It's just sometimes if people don't see something curb to curb or they don't see bare pavement, they don't think a plow truck's coming. But based on the GPS, for the most part, we were able to get to almost every, both, not just Friday, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we were able to get to those areas. And if there is an area that definitely wasn't, call and we'll check the GPS, and if we didn't get to it, then we'll make sure we do next time.
Okay, now we'll go past the mics to your left to Julie Toby, Executive Director of PSAP.
Hi, guys. Just some stat information for the 911 dispatch center. During those 72 hours, our center was able to process incoming and outbound calls of 5,000 calls. Out of those 5,000 calls, 1,600 of them were actually 911 calls into the PSAP center. And then we had 1,600 calls for service, which involved us sending the police, fire, and medics out all over the place. I would say a good 500 of those calls were strictly weather-related, and it was crashes or disabled vehicles, people stuck in snow, which I feel like our center did a pretty good job handling all of the calls that were coming in. Our busiest times started at 4 p.m. on the 23rd, and then the 26th was our second highest, busiest day.
Any other questions for Julie on people calling our communications center 911, calling for police or fire?
I thought I saw here 1,600 calls.
Thank you, sir.
Sheriff Redmond.
All right, good morning, everybody. As was alluded earlier, our types of calls for service just changed during events like this. So we are handling more crashes, more slide-offs, people stuck in snowbanks, stuck in the middle of the road in some instances because of drifting. So it just makes it more hazardous for our patrol officers and officers that are assisting. I think for the most part, though, I was very pleased with the number of residents of St. Joe County that heeded our warnings ahead of time and didn't travel as much as they probably wish they were able to. It's a difficult thing for us in this field to make those decisions, especially during the holidays with Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. It's difficult to make those decisions, but we do that because we care about our citizens and want to make sure that our community is safe. I think our officers, and I alluded to this a couple days ago, and commended our patrol officers and our corrections officers, who I think did one heck of a job dealing with these horrible frigid temperatures and the conditions that they were dealt with. Not only do we have to service the calls, the crashes, the slide-offs, and the calls for service out on the road, but I also oversee the daily operations of that jail, which is extremely crucial to our community. So I commend our corrections officers for handling that as well and coming in, making sure that staff that had difficulty getting in, we made arrangements for other staff in all-wheel drive vehicles to pick them up, take them home, and make sure they got home safely. Of all the crashes and incidents that we serviced, I'm glad to say that we had no serious injuries nor fatalities. So I think everybody, again, did a great job in our community listening to those warnings in advance and staying off the roads as much as possible. We did have some road closures with road closure signs plainly visible. Unfortunately, we had people go through those signs or around those signs and then put themselves in danger because then they eventually got stuck. That caused our officers, County Highway Department, to come out and risk their safety to get those people free. Tow truck drivers, I would like to commend all of our tow agencies that work for us. They did an outstanding job as well, assisting our department and our citizens.
Any questions for Sheriff Redmond?
Can you share any of the numbers that you might think are significant or how they might compare to numbers you've seen in your career up till then?
Yeah, I mean, the calls for service just changed during events like this. So, for instance, we serviced 85 car crashes, our department. So that's a lot of car crashes. We don't normally see that during a regular weekday or weekend. So those numbers are significantly higher. Abandoned vehicles, hazardous vehicles. I know there's a slide here that says trees and lines down. So we have to service all those calls during this time, so it makes it more hazardous for our patrol officers, not only getting to the scene, but once they arrive at the scene, they put themselves at extreme risk because now they've got traffic coming by them, so it makes it even more dangerous. But the calls for service for us just change. We are servicing more of the car crashes and motor assists.
Where was the wheelchair stuck?
Wheelchair?
Well, one of these pages that
That was
mentioned,
Mishawaka.
Yeah, I don't,
It was a Mishawaka call.
was it?
yeah, that wasn't our call.
Do you still have slide-offs out there that you're kind of supervising, or?
Things have gotten better in the last day or two. Our calls for service have gone down. But as was alluded to earlier, the 23rd and the 26th seem to be the busiest days for our patrol officers as well.
I didn't know if you still had dead soldiers on the side of the road, slide cars still in the ditch? Or?
Well, we certainly have vehicles throughout the county that are still in ditches or off the side of the road. So we'll be dealing with those as time progresses.
What were some of those roads that you ended up having to close during the worst of the storm?
Well, I know Mayflower Road was one of the worst roads that we had. The drifting, it's the same roads that we deal with, all of us that have been around for many years. When you have open roadway and fields, the farm fields, and the ditches next to that. So Mayflower is a good example of a roadway that always gives us issues. Out in the east part of St. Joe County, Bittersweet Road, Cleveland Road, again, all open field areas. With that tremendous wind that we had, it made it more difficult for travel and for our snowplows to be able to continue to keep those roadways free.
Any other further questions for the sheriff? May you pass the microphones to your left, sir. Be Jim Lopez, the Deputy Director of our Emergency Management Agency.
What, excuse me, what the EMA did was we coordinated the responses with all the different responding agencies, such as police, fire, 911 center. We made sure that the line of communication was open between all the agencies. Our biggest concern was power going out, so we worked with AEP to make sure that they had trucks available, that if we did have power go out, how would they be able to get trucks in there? One good thing that AEP did was they had call trucks available that would be housed here if it got really bad. Never happened, so that was good. We also worked with South Bend Schools to provide shelters for long-term recovery for victims that would lose power. We targeted certain schools, and South Bend Schools prepared them that if we did have that emergency, you know, how could they help us? Again, we worked with the Red Cross, that if we needed to feed people, they would be able to feed the people. That's pretty much it.
Any questions for EMA?
And did anybody, in essence, have to stay in the shelter, or were they ever really opened?
The shelters were opened during the day, the warming centers in the city of South Bend, but we did not open any long-term shelters to house people.
I'll get it, guys.
You got it?
You're doing a good job.
Could have EMA help you if you need it.
The questions, if you have for the commissioners, I would just like to say we met earlier today and debriefed and got all the information from all the departments, as everybody said, so seeing if there's things that we need to improve on. The biggest thing that I was happy with was the communication aspect of all of us combining to find out what we want to do and then get the information out to the public on that. So I'm going to question you all, what do you think is important from your side of the fence that if we get information out, if we put it on our Facebook, press releases, what's the best way to get information to you so you can get it to the public? Come on, I asked you all a question.
Any and all?
Yeah.
We felt like we were part of the pipeline for sure. So.
Okay. So, yeah, that's the only thing that we have seen collectively, so.
One of the things we talked about was maybe having regularly scheduled releases so that you have a heads up as to when we're going to be updating the public. Would that be helpful?
Yeah, I think you all have at least my number and other numbers, so if there's ever a question, because the sheriff can do a press thing anytime he wants, all the other departments, they go through the commissioners, we'll look at it to see if it's substantively correct to put it out. And so we'll make that, and we try to get information out as much as possible. The big thing we're telling the public, when there's a sign that says road closed, and if you have to go home, you can call the PSAP center and we can assist you get there. But as the sheriff alluded to, and our people were just crashing through it. That stretch of Mayflower where that's at, there's only maybe about 7 houses that is close to 23. But then if you're headed north, that's farms. And if you have to go to the store, there's other alternate routes. We don't just shut down streets because we feel like it. There's a reason of, like everybody said, our trucks get stuck, you get stuck. Charlie, you guys were pulling people out of ditches, so that's what we want to avoid. We don't want people being stuck in their car and something happening and further congesting the area when we got to go out there and do stuff.
What were you most surprised or impressed about when you look at some of the numbers you're crunching? You know, what are we going to tell our grandkids about this weather event in 20 years?
I was impressed by all the work that all of these people and everybody that works for them did, just going out there doing their jobs. We had one window was broken out that we're trying to find out if there was an accident or whatever, where they plowed in the subdivision and somebody didn't like when the plow came through. Just like where I live on Portage, if I shove my driveway, the plows are coming through and you get some up there. So we'll run that down, but other than that, everybody did a fantastic job from our part. We're happy with the citizens, most of all who listened to what was being put out collectively by everybody. So at the end of the day, it's not that difficult. If you're out, you see the wind, it's below zero, you should know, hey, if I'm going out, only for reasons of, you know, picking up family or food or whatever, but if you just want to go driving around because you want to see it, that's, you know, save that for a rainy day. Carl, any
Any
other?
other? No, I think you hit
Well, and I
the fact that people listened. I think the sheriff, Derek, both said that. My first time through it, and I was impressed with how well the public did heed the warnings.
And I'm glad that we made those comments that help people to stay home, because I was concerned it was getting so snowy, so cold, so windy. Oh my gosh, and icy too. And I was concerned over the weekend, oh my gosh, for Christmas, oh my gosh. But I'm glad that, you know, maybe we had a few little crashes, but nobody died, yay. And hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, a good Christmas. And now I'm happy that our weather's gonna get warmer, and so everything's gonna be fixed up now. But I was so impressed that there was so much that was done here, that this morning when I was like, oh, good, yes, yay. So glad to help everybody, that everybody could stay as happy and healthy. And, you know, and it's sad it happened over the weekend, but at least
have
we
a
got
great
it
New
done now.
Year's.
Yes.
Any other questions
And a
y'all
great
have?
New Year's, right.
Do we move right into flooding? Is there any concern
There you go.
about?
Hope we get a little
So
break
if you want an electronic, give Kara your email. There's other copies there, and y'all have our numbers if you have further questions. So Hawaiian shirts for everybody, and we'll be good. Thank y'all for coming.
Thank you.